White House correspondent Mark Irons caught up with the U.S. Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross. He asked what effect the president's tariffs on steel and aluminum will have to consumers.
Well, it's not going to have a noticeable impact. The total amount of it at maximum is $9 billion. That's less than 1/2 of our economy.
Secretary Ross adds the tariffs might create jobs, and the decision to impose them was made following extensive discussions. For more analysis, we're joined by Jay Richards, assistant professor in the School of Business and Economics at the Catholic University of America. You also know him, of course, as the host for A Force for Good right here on EWTN. Jay, welcome back.
Thanks, Wyatt.
Is the Commerce Secretary right, and how do you think this plan will impact American consumers?
Well, he's right that if you're talking about individual cans of aluminum or tin, yeah, okay, an aluminum can, maybe it's going to cost a consumer a cent more. That's not really the issue. I mean, he's actually conceding that, in fact, it is going to cost consumers. It's just the cost is going to be spread out over hundreds of millions of people, so they're not likely to notice it. The real concern is all of the industries, all the manufacturers in the United States that are downstream from steel and aluminum. There's absolutely no doubt that that's going to impact them in a negative way. I mean, there's a reason that the Caterpillar Corporation stock tanked after President Trump announced this tariff idea, for instance.
And like I said, we're just going to have to see how it plays out even further down the line.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let me ask you this then. European Union leaders are thinking about this. They're concerned as well. They're hoping that they can get an exempt from the tariff just like Mexico and Canada are.
Yes.
Do you think that's likely to happen?
I think it probably is. I mean, we were told a few days ago that maybe the president was just playing tough to start up negotiations over NAFTA. But if that were true, he wouldn't have already announced that there's going to be an exemption for Mexico and Canada. And the point is, we don't want to alienate our friends. I mean, this tariff essentially punishes our allies and does nothing to countries like China who actually cheat on these things. And so I would suspect, based on the same rationale, he'll probably end up exempting the European Union as well.
Well, as you know, the church says trade should be inclusive. It should serve the common good. Do you think this new tariff plan moves us closer or further away from that idea?
I think it definitely moves us further away from that. I wouldn't say that President Trump is violating Catholic social teaching in this. Obviously, as president, his primary responsibility is to Americans rather than to others, though we don't want him to hurt people in other parts of the world. But I think just simply in terms of will it actually help Americans? Overall, yeah, it may save a few hundred jobs here, but it's likely to destroy thousands of jobs elsewhere. And so I really think that this is one of the decisions the president has made that I just think is a mistake.
Okay, we'll be watching to see how all this plays out, at least within the coming months and the coming years. Jay Richards, host of EWTN's Force for Good and professor at the Catholic University of America, thanks so much.
My pleasure.